They said he was crazy. A poor man, barely able to take care of himself, adopting not one, not two, but 3 little girls. People laughed. Some judged. Others whispered that it would never work. He won't last a year, they said. But he never argued. He never tried to prove them wrong. He just raised them with everything he had. Years passed. The town forgot. Until one day, 3 luxury cars pulled into the same streets where he was once mocked. The doors opened. And what stepped out? Left everyone in shock. Stay till the end, because what those 3 girls did next will change the way you see love forever. The town was small, the kind where everyone knew each other's stories, even the parts they shouldn't. And in that town lived Rahim, a quiet man who carried more responsibility than most people could see. Life hadn't been easy for him. Losing his wife early had left him not just alone, but uncertain about the future. Yet even in his hardest moments, he never allowed bitterness to take over. He continued working, surviving day by day, keeping his life simple. One evening, everything changed. On his way home, Rahim passed by an orphanage, a place he usually walked by without stopping. But that day, something made him pause. Through the gate, he saw 3 young girls sitting together. They weren't playing like the others. They weren't laughing. They were just sitting. Quiet. Holding on to each other as if that was the only thing they had left. There was something in that moment that stayed with him. It wasn't pity. It wasn't impulse. It was recognition of loneliness, of loss, of something he understood too well. Over the next few days, he found himself returning, not out of obligation, but because he couldn't ignore what he felt. He learned their names, Amina, Zara, and Noor. 3 sisters who had lost everything except each other. And then, without making it complicated, he made a decision that would change all their lives. He chose to adopt them. The town reacted exactly as expected. People questioned him. Some openly criticized him. You can't even afford your own life, they said. How will you take care of 3 children? But Rahim didn't respond with words. He responded with action. Life became harder, no doubt about it. Money was tight. Days were long. Nights were even longer. But something else grew in that small home, something stronger than struggle. Love. Real, unconditional, unshaken love. He didn't give them a life of luxury. He gave them something far more valuable: safety, care, and a sense of belonging. The girls, in return, grew with quiet strength. They studied, helped each other, supported their father in ways beyond their years. They didn't complain about what they didn't have. They focused on what they did. And over time, their small home became filled with something the town couldn't understand: happiness without wealth. Years passed. Slowly, quietly, without attention. The girls grew up, one by one, leaving the town to build their own paths. People assumed they would never come back. After all, what was there to return to? Just a small house, and a man who had nothing to offer but love. But they were wrong. 15 years later, the town had changed, but not enough to forget its past judgments. Rahim had grown older, his steps slower, his life still simple. The house remained the same, carrying memories of laughter, struggle, and moments that shaped everything. People rarely spoke about him anymore. To them, his story had already been decided: a man who tried too much and ended with too little. Then one morning, something unusual happened. The sound of engines broke the routine silence of the street. 3 cars, expensive, unfamiliar, entered the narrow road where Rahim's house stood. People stepped outside, curious, trying to understand what was happening. The cars stopped right in front of his home. Doors opened. And 3 women stepped out. Confident. Composed. Successful in ways the town couldn't ignore. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't their appearance, it was their direction. They didn't look around. They didn't hesitate. They walked straight toward the same small house they had once called home. Rahim stepped outside, confused at first. For a moment, he didn't recognize them. Time had changed their faces, their presence. But then, something familiar appeared in their eyes. And in that moment, everything became clear. Abba, one of them said softly. The word carried years of love, distance, and gratitude. Rahim stood still, overwhelmed by a feeling he couldn't put into words. The girls he once held onto in their weakest moments had returned. But they hadn't come back empty-handed. They hadn't come back out of obligation. They had come back with purpose. What followed wasn't just emotional, it was transformative. The daughters, now successful in their own fields, revealed what they had been working toward all these years. They hadn't forgotten where they came from. They hadn't forgotten the men who gave them everything when he had nothing. And now, it was their turn. They didn't just return to visit. They returned to give back, to him, and to the town that once doubted them. They rebuilt his home, not as a symbol of wealth, but as a symbol of dignity. They supported local families, created opportunities, and showed that success isn't just about moving forward, it's about lifting others along the way. The same people who once doubted Rahim now stood in silence, witnessing something they never expected. Not regret. Not guilt. But realization. Because in the end, Rahim hadn't raised 3 children. He had raised 3 lives filled with purpose, strength, and gratitude. And those lives came back, not to prove anything, but to honor everything. Because sometimes, the greatest investment isn't money. It's love. And when that love is real, it always finds its way back.